In Alexandria next week, a local man once described as Russia's Bill Gates will be back in federal court in what he says is a fight for his life. Russia claims he looted a Moscow bank under his control and is now demanding his return. He says he's innocent and is a marked man hunted by the KGB, Russian mob, and now the U.S. Kathleen Matthews explains in this in-depth report.
They had promised the Russian authorities that no matter what, he would be sent back to Russia, and that would happen as soon as possible.
When Alexander Kononenko walked out of these immigration offices in Arlington last month, he appeared a free man and hoped that an 8-year-long fight with the U.S. government might finally be over. But freedom and peace have eluded Kononenko before. In the 1990s, he was at the helm of a powerful Russian bank when scores of bankers were being murdered by one-time KGB operatives who had become the forefathers of the Russian mob.
As Kononenko tells it, it's a story right out of a Tom Clancy novel involving the Russian government, the Russian mob, and now the U.S. government.
It was about taking over the country.
Fearing for his life, Kononenko fled to Eastern Europe and began to name names, including that of the former KGB head, now Russian President Vladimir Putin.
I was very actively writing about the danger of the KGB combining forces with the Russian organized crime.
Kononenko and his wife Elena fled to Washington where they hoped for sanctuary. But then Elena caught the KGB and the FBI searching their Watergate co-op. Alexander was arrested on immigration violations, released, and arrested again.
The Russian government was manufacturing a case against him.
Antoinette Rizzi was assigned to prosecute the first INS case against Kononenko. She says the Russians offered bogus documents to support embezzlement charges and have Kononenko returned to Russia for prosecution. And knowing that those documents were false, Rizzi says the U.S. government was willing to look the other way.
It was a quid pro quo, but it was so that we could continue to foster our law enforcement relationship, which we had established, having established an FBI office in Moscow.
Rizzi's account is supported by a 1995 teletype from the Moscow field office to then FBI Director Louis Freeh. A federal judge ultimately ruled Kononenko's arrests were illegal, and in 1999 the Kononenkos were granted temporary asylum. But then last November, the Justice Department abruptly changed course and prepared to deport the couple. The Kononenkos drove to the border with Canada in a quest for asylum there, and they were met by agents of Homeland Security.
Our car was surrounded. There was about 12 agents, some of them in black masks, some of them with submachine guns.
The agents whisked the Kononenkos to the Russian embassy in northwest Washington and then to a waiting flight to Moscow. But again, a federal judge intervened and ruled this latest in a series of arrests illegal. In northwest Washington, I'm Kathleen Matthews, ABC 7 News.
The Justice Department has repeatedly denied that they had any deal to send Alexander Kononenko home. Late last month, the immigration panel, which granted Kononenko asylum, then reversed it, changed course again, and reinstated the grant. He will likely spend the next 2 years pressing to make that temporary asylum permanent.